Kelly Oubre rapidly rose from a player on a veteran's minimum the Sixers were simply taking a chance on to a key contributor and fan favorite here in Philadelphia. But he's also had quite a few dust-ups with new Sixer Paul George, and it's been a topic of conversation leading into them officially becoming teammates. Well, now each guy has had an opportunity to take the stand and squash that beef, and both did a pretty nice job of putting that to bed. So I want to dive into what was specifically said and talk a little bit about how I see these two working out on the court, most particularly on how I think Kelly Oubre fits into this new version of the Sixers team. So I'm going to start out with Paul George had Tyrese Maxey on his podcast, the Podcast P today, which they touched on a variety of topics. And one of the things that they got into is what teammates you're most excited to play with and everything. To which Paul George jumped on this quote here saying, quote, "Kelly, you know we've had our moments, but I'm looking forward to squatting up with you." So I do like that he said there. And once again, this comes just a couple weeks after Kelly Oubre had a chance to take the stage himself. This coming after his signing his contract and having his press conference there. And he put the quote to bed as well, saying exactly, quote, "Fans and media across the league have perceived the friction as some type of resentment or beef between the two wings." As he addressed with the media on Tuesday, Kelly Oubre squashed rumors of a potential beef and spoke glowingly of George, often referencing how excited he was to play alongside his former rival, now teammate. And Kelly said, quote, "Obviously everyone wants to talk about a beef or whatever. There's never been a beef. There's just been two competitors who respect each other on the court, and we just try to go at it really hard. So now that we're on the same team, we can do that to other people. So I'm excited." And he went on to elaborate on that, saying that, quote, "I'm really excited. I've always studied his game. I've always been a fan from afar. And to be able to get bits and pieces and nuggets from him, learn his game a little bit and inspire him, I think we kind of offer different things, but we both can feed off and learn off each other. But I'm really excited to learn from him, to help him do his thing with the rest of his career that he has left. I'm really excited." So all pretty well said from Kelly Oubre, who absolutely has been a massive success story on the Sixers team. And to dive into what he produced on the court last year, a wildly successful season. 15.4 points per game, 5 rebounds, 1.5 assists, which somehow is a career high for him. Shot just 44.1% from the field, 31.1% from three, just 33% from the corner. I do wish the shooting splits were much higher for him, and that's kind of the one thing that holds me back on being as all-in on Kelly as I would like to. But what he really gained my respect for last year was finding a way to prove that he plays a winning brand of basketball, that he defended hard. He was a huge part of defending Jalen Brunson, who had some struggles early on in that Knicks series. Obviously, we saw how that ended, but Jalen Brunson is a level of talent where you got to tip the hat to an extent. And ultimately, when push come to shove, I did not think this fell on Kelly Oubre by any means in that series. And he also found a really nice job being a guy that is a baseline cutter, is a lob threat on this team, led the team in dunks last year. Thought he made his impact felt on a night-to-night basis. And he really did grow into one of the premier options on the defensive end, which was pretty uncharacteristic of him throughout his career. Now, with Kelly Oubre, I'm very excited that he is back this year. I know that it was a fan favorite, and it was kind of up in the air after, once again, he was on a veteran's minimum. But his roles can be vastly different. That this season, obviously, we know the big addition with Paul George, and to dive into what he adds to this mix here, we're talking about the 22.6 points per game that he produced last year, 5.2 rebounds and 3.5 assists, shot 41.3% from three, so there's a bit of a balance as far as the shooting efficiency there. Shot 45.7% from the corner. That's probably the biggest distinguishing factor, and I also really think it speaks to the way the Sixers are shifting towards playing this modernized approach to basketball. Something that has been lacking so long in the Joel Embiid era is having these switchable, versatile wings, which we really are seeing can make or break playoff series and really be the characteristics of a team. Another player that I think is very much going to be in the mix for that is Caleb Martin. This is another guy that, while he might not shine as much in the statistical category, 10 points per game, 4.4 rebounds, and the shooting split's not as good as it feels, 34.9% from three, 32.9% from the corner. He is a guy that can get red hot and has taken over some big moments. I don't think it's a coincidence the Sixers' interest and Caleb Martin having his best games against the Boston Celtics, and not only just against the Boston Celtics, but when the lights were at its brightest in big moments, that he truly changed playoff games for that Miami Heat team. And he was another guy that was spoken very highly about by both Paul George and particularly Tyrese Maxey. Talking about he's kind of a type of player that this Sixers team has never had or he's never played with to this point, and he does think he can make a really high-level impact on this team. So I'm very excited to see what each of these guys brings to the table. When you talk about a perimeter defense of Kelly Oubre, Paul George, and Caleb Martin, that's really good and far better than I've seen ever in the Joel Embiid era. Now, as far as the Kelly Oubre conversation, and by the way, I don't think this is just lip service. I do think these two generally want to get along, and we've already have photos of them working out together. Also note that Tyrese Maxey was out at USC working out with Kelly Oubre as well, so it's cool that he very clearly wants to fit in. And Oubre has been very open about that I think to him specifically, he wanted a long-term home, that he has bounced around for his career. Another quote that I think was very notable of Oubre that he gave at his media day is he was asked kind of his options alongside Philadelphia, and he responded, quote, "Well, there are definitely other options on the table, options that are closer to the ballpark of where I'm working towards getting to," meaning the financial standpoint there. But at the end of the day, man, it's all about situations. It's all about fit. It's all about the people that I'm working with and working for, Oubre explained. That just surpassed everything else because I didn't want to necessarily move my family to a new place, go and meet new people, and have to do this all over again. Oubre had to battle through adversity throughout the season. We know the vehicle, all the off-court nonsense that did kind of linger around him, and I do hope in this new contract there's a personal driver for Kelly Oubre. I think we would avoid a lot of issues that way. But he also finished off the quote saying, quote, I don't want to say finish where I started because I don't plan on being done, Oubre added. This is a step towards where I want to be at signing a more long-term deal, but this was the place that I felt comfortable and I felt safe and happy. I fell in love with the game of basketball, so why would I go anywhere else? So I do love the mindset from Kelly pretty much all across the board. I also note he's been a much better vibes guy than I kind of expected. The reputation of him was far different than the player that we got in actuality. Now with all that being said, I do think we should buckle up for a little bit more Kelly Oubre ball this season. That I think after really being on his best behavior for a season, and by the Kelly Oubre ball that I'm concerned about, basically some reckless heat checks, him pulling up at moments when he shouldn't, or maybe just feeling himself a little bit too much on the offensive end. And what particularly makes me believe that is there was another quote during this media day where he was asked, what does he think of the Sixers' big three with Tyrese Maxey, Paul George, and Joel Embiid, how they all fit together. And his reply was basically here saying that he doesn't view it as a big three, that they have a big 12, a big 15. And he kind of smiled. I don't like saying, kind of smiled and said, I don't like saying a big three because that means I'm not in it. So we know I appreciate the confidence out of Kelly. I hope it is reasonable confidence. But the bottom line is I'm willing to put up with a lot of that if he continues to do the things that he shined in last year. If he continues to dunk hard, defend at a crazy high level, and do the little things in a way that I've never characteristically seen from him through his career, I will continue to ride out and enjoy the Kelly Oubre experience. So it is nice to see these two put things to the side, let bygones be bygones as far as their past altercations there. At the end of the day, I do think it is nothing more than two guys competing, that all of the on-court altercations have been basically one of the guys showing each other up. They've had their battles. They've had their verbal go blow to blow, chest for chest, all that type of thing. But the reality is they now are on the same side competing, and I do like that both those guys have that amount of competitive drive. So I'm very excited to see what this looks like on the court, that I do think Kelly Oubre is going to continue to be a pretty important part of this Sixers team, and in all likelihood that this is the starting lineup that we're talking about, with Tyrese Maxey, with Joel Embiid, with Kelly Oubre, with Paul George, and with Caleb Martin here. That's what we're going to be looking at for this Sixers team, and that's a really good outcome to this summer. Who knows? I still think there's a little bit more work to be done on the roster overall. I get the questions about the power forward, and ultimately it's going to be between Oubre, Martin, and Paul George to find a way to step up and be that secondary rebounder to Joel Embiid. But the bottom line is they are embracing this positionless style of basketball. They got better perimeter defense than we've really seen, which I'm very excited about, and kind of check every box that you're looking for as far as shooting with Paul George, the defensive ability, the way that we're just going to see a balanced team in a way that I'm very excited about. So glad that everybody's on the same page, ready to put the past behind them, and ultimately buckle up and compete for a championship this year. Shout out to both Paul George and Kelly Oubre for making that clear right from the get-go, that there will be none of that lingering as they head into training camp. And I don't think anybody's surprised by this overall going down. But once again, appreciate each and every one of you guys tuning into this video here. Shout out to Paul George and Kelly Oubre for putting this to rest. And I cannot wait to watch some actual Sixers basketball. I'm already getting that itch for the season to start up because I am as excited about this team as I've been in quite some time. I hope you guys are with me and along for the ride. So make sure you're smashing that subscribe button to make sure. Dropping a like on this video and any comments you do have below. I'll be talking with you next time right here on Sixers Digest. Peace.